The sale of parcel number 6061, consummated between the Belmopan City Council and businessman Xin Ni on October 10th, is final. The land transaction saw the principal of the newly formed concern, Simplex Design Company Limited, purchase the landmark property for $400,000. The deal was closed after City Hall received full payment for that subdivision, despite the headquarters of the Public Service Union being housed on it.
I can't get into specifics, but I can tell the people of Belmopan that their intention is to restore what had previously been there before it was a headquarters in terms of a public recreational facility, and I will stop there for now because I don't want to rob them of their competitive advantage.
The property in question has been occupied and managed by the soon-to-be evicted labor organization since 1998. In 2001 and 2003 respectively, contracts were signed for lease of the land between the City Council and P.S.U. Both agreements were authorized by the former mayor and erstwhile union president. Sitting Mayor Khalid Belisle asserts that notwithstanding those leases, the P.S.U. has not been paying its monthly rent.
This lease agreement was for the period of 20 years. The basics of it were that rent should be paid monthly at the sum of $500. And at the conclusion of that 20 years, the union would have the option to purchase with the previously paid rental sum being counted towards the final purchase price. Shortly thereafter, 2 years later, another lease was signed, again between the Belmopan City Council and the Belize Public Service Union, pretty much a mirror image of the previous lease.
The terms of that renewed agreement, as the mayor puts it, remained virtually the same as the one before. It wasn't until last year that the administration, during an assessment process, noticed that P.S.U. hasn't been honoring that contract.
In 2017, last year, as our valuation department was conducting an exercise for the council, trying to consolidate all the council assets scattered throughout the city, we came to realize that the P.S.U. was indeed occupying in possession of, if that's the proper term, and use of, certainly, the Hilltop property. Still, has been that way for their tenancy and their use has been uninterrupted since 2001. But it then started to cause us to ask the question, well, where's the agreement? So we found the agreement, and upon looking at the agreement, we said, okay, well, we have what would seem like a valid lease here, but where's the payment?
Those monthly disbursements, the City Council would later discover, were non-existent.
We could find absolutely no record of any payment from the Public Service Union to the Belmopan City Council for the rent that had been agreed to, that they had signed on to in 2001 and 2003. So I personally reached out to the P.S.U. so that we could have some sort of dialogue about this. I mean,
you reached out when?
That was in August of 2017.
Since then, both parties had been meeting in an attempt to resolve the issue. Those sessions subsequently included talks of purchasing Hilltop. Before arriving there, however, the P.S.U. maintained that it had been making its payments.
Yes, we do have our records. And while that meeting of the 9th of October was held, the city administrator did indicate it to us they have nothing. I then indicated to him that what I'm going to do is copy what it is that we have and forward to him, which I did. And so when we went and met with the evaluator, I had asked her to contact the city administrator because those records were forwarded to him via email.
In a series of sit-downs that were held between Citco and P.S.U., the union made clear that it would not spend a penny over $187,000, well below the asking price of $500,000 that the council was seeking.
Their offer was $187,000, best and final offer. This is after we told them that we had had a valuation done in-house at $503,000. But the thing about that in-house valuation was that it represented a severe haircut from the get-go. Our technical director, who was skilled in these matters, former employee of the Ministry of Natural Resources herself, had told us that if she were valuing for private enterprise, this property would actually have been valued at $700,000+. So that we were at 503 was already a significant reduction on the council's part in terms of what we thought was reasonable value for the property. So to come to the close of that meeting between the P.S.U. and the councillors, $187,000, best and final offer. I am told that our city administrator intervened and said, well, that is unacceptable to the council. And he stated to them, you have a month, we'll give you a month to please go back and come back to us with something more reasonable. That month lapsed. We had absolutely no indication from the P.S.U. in terms of coming back to us. And so the council decided to move on.
Reporting for News 5, I am Isani Cayetano.